So, hi everybody, and welcome to round six. We've got four games to get through, so let's get going. Austin and Sherry, are you with us already? Should we start elsewhere?
I'm here.
Is Austin with us? I don't think so. Let's just go to the next one. Will and Mike O'Brien, are you both with us?
I am.
I'm here as well. Okay, great. You're up. I'll mute Mike Rosinski.
Yeah, this is a great one from this weekend. I think maybe I just want to start off by saying how appreciative I am of both of these programs and both of these coaches. I don't know if Coach O'Brien or Coach Thornley is on, but it's always a pleasure working with you guys. Make my life so much easier, coordinating all the logistics, sending stuff ahead of time, and then super respectful during the game, well-coached teams. So makes my life a lot easier. And yeah, I really appreciate both of your programs. Yeah, and in terms of the game, really hard fought, close game. Two, I think, again, very well coached teams that really wanted to compete, really got after it. I think there's a lot of really positive stuff in this game. I think the game was kind of closer than the scoreline. I think St. Mary's got a couple in the last kind of dying minutes of the game. So highly competitive game, super fun to be a part of. And yeah, I got three lineout clips. And if any of the coaches are on and want to talk about anything else, more than willing to go there too.
Mike?
Yeah, but Will had a really good game. I think again, credit to the teams. They really wanted to play, which is good. It makes the decisions come a little bit more smoothly. Again, yeah, Will had a really good game. So we're one of the games where we kind of are talking about minutia. So that's why we were thinking big thoughts about lineouts.
Ultra thin.
So maybe we can just go in order of where these lineups occurred in the game. So we can start with that intentional knock on versus just a regular knock on. It is a lineout, I promise you. Don't worry. Um, so, yep, we're 5 minutes into the game. St. Mary's kind of put him in the corner, and then St. Mary's thrown the line out, and then we can maybe just discuss.
Say.
No, just ignore.
That's one hand.
Let's go, boys. That's the whole clip. I think you can kind of hear it from the St. Mary's players. I think they have a feeling it's like that. It's an intentional knock on. From where I'm standing, just at the back of the lineup, I only really see the back of that player's jersey. And so it's really hard for me to, I think, judge whether or not that's a catchable ball or not. So maybe just turn it over to the group just to see if there's any way to better be able to see this or to expect this or just to have anyone had thoughts on this.
This is
Nobody?
Wes here.
Hey.
For me, an expected outcome would be since they are the defending team, he's trying to catch the ball, which means he would most likely want to catch it and touch it down for a try. So, based on that information, I would go with your call of just a regular knock because if he catches it there, he's clearly going to touch it down for a try.
Hey, it's
Agree with that as well.
Hey,
Thinking the
Khalil.
same thing.
hey Richard. He, the defender, had no chance of re-getting that ball after he made contact with it. Therefore, feel over.
Mhm. So, Khalil,
In
you
terms
said
of how you
penalty,
would,
just penalty,
sorry,
right?
in terms of how you would see this, I'd go Paul Camille. In terms of how you would see this, Will, I don't know that you could have realistically been in a better position, but Contextually, this guy screams out of the line. It's high risk, high reward, or right. And so you see him scream out the line. You see the ball go fly dead and dead. Chances are it was a deliberate knock on, but of course, if you don't see it, then we don't just make stuff up.
Yeah, I have to agree with Khalil because I mean, look at his left arm. You know, his left arm is nowhere near trying to catch that ball. So I would have to say it's just a penalty.
Hey, Will, did you have any consideration in talking to your AR who might have had a view of it? Because he or she, whoever that is on the far touchline, has a pretty wide angle view of what that is.
No, I think I was just trying to sell it on the field.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had mics, but that wasn't part of the briefing. So the briefing, I think, was just a little bit less is more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think Khalil, your point is very well taken. High risk, high reward.
Yep.
So, yeah, no,
Well
I
said.
agree. Yeah, and I think that's where Mike and I landed as well, as that should have been an intentional knock on. Cool. So next, let's go to the offsides at the lineup. So there's a couple different things here. This is right at the end of the first half. Central Washington was putting a ton of pressure on the St. Mary's lineout. St. Mary's kind of realized this and tried to make him to draw him off sides, essentially. So we'll play the clip and then we can kind of discuss after that. Yeah, so we got a little bit of everything on this one here. So when Mike and I were reviewing this, I think we had a couple, of really good kind of discussions. Wanted to open it up to the group. So maybe this first one being, do we even play advantage on this? We're on the other half of the field. There's not really like a high success likelihood coming, like a team's not about to score. So should we even play advantage on this at all? And then the next point being, is advantage over anyways? Because he catches it in field and takes a couple steps. So you could say he played it as he wished. And then the third piece too, just that little bit of off the ball stuff that I was watching while still trying to clarify it in my mind. So yeah, maybe turn it over to the group to think about those three pieces.
So what was the penalty for?
So the back line came up. So I got someone in the center for being offsides.
Yeah.
So my thing,
That's a difficult one.
man, I always have such heartburn playing advantage for the backs offside because while it seems kind of weird and persnickety, it's a 20-meter swing, which we really don't have that much in rugby.
What
So
in
I
the
look at this and
damn
I'm like,
fuck
well,
are you doing?
I'm trying to explain myself. I'm sorry.
This,
Hey,
this
can
is
everybody just please mute yourselves except the people that are speaking, if you don't mind?
So just
We have some people
philosophically,
under 18 on this call too.
philosophically, I have such heartburn about playing advantage for the backs offside in the line out unless it's something where the line out is within about 10 meters. Because you go and the mark's going to be 10 meters ahead of the mark of touch. Team has to get back 10 meters from there, then you can kick forward. And I feel that the math of introducing collisions into the match that's going to happen if you
Yeah.
play advantage, plus them needing to earn 10 meters and then a cup. For me, just philosophically, unless the line out is close to in goal, this is kind of opening up. I just have heartburn about the idea of playing advantage for the backs being offsides in general.
This is Tig. Separate from the advantage, though, they don't form a ruck. They don't form a maul rather on him. He takes a step. As far as I'm concerned, when he takes that step and swings his arms, this lineout's over. I wouldn't call the backs offside, period, at that point. Once
Yeah.
once he
So
takes that once he takes that step and swings his arms, it's not a maul, so you can't ding him for dummying. It's nothing. I consider the lineout over with the step and the fake.
yeah, so I've got a couple of things to add here, and I've watched quite a lot of the games, and I know that everybody is watching TV, and maybe those of you that have been to some of the MLR meetings think it's okay to referee the lineup from the back. And like nobody's even, not nobody, but a lot of referees are not even making the mark on the front. So when that gap is taken away, you're unable to manage it. And then when you're standing at the back, it's fine to stand at the back. But remember, if you stand in the front, you might have 20 lineouts, which means if you stand in the front for half of them, you're probably going to run an extra 10 times 15 meters. So it's an extra 150 meters you can run in the game by just mixing up your positioning. But now, if you're going to stand at the back or you're going to stand at the front, you're going to put your arm up to hold the back line back. And you're not going to take your arm down until that line out is over. Because what happened over here is that Will sort of half had his arm up and then he was managing some backline players, I don't know, close to the mall or something. So obviously the team in black thought the line out was over, right? So I wouldn't be able to penalize them. If you kept your arm up all the time and they came running up, that's great, right? You see there? So there, when you change to that, they already think the lineout's over. And then the person dummies in the front there. And as Tig said, is the lineout even still on? Because the player looks like he's got the ball by himself outside of the line of touch. That's a lot of things to be thinking about, right? So all I think that you do is you put your arm in the air when the lineout's on, and you take your arm down when the lineout's over. And then we won't have to debate all of these things, if that makes sense. Is that cool?
Yeah, that works with
Okay.
me.
It should be easy, right?
But I also agree with Mike that if you do consider that a penalty, trying to play advantage from it is not likely to succeed.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, we don't even see a lot of these penalties, quite honest. Um, Pulling down from the lineout.
Yeah, so I just put this one into because you get a little bit of a different camera view, and so I think Mike and I, in advantage, we're kind of just messaging about is this pulling down or not, and then does this affect the formation of them all?
Oh, yeah. I remember this. Easy call, right? I mean, don't do it again.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, I mean they're setting up a mall. He's landing on top of the mall, and I think that's kind of being disruptive to that, and it's also I think dangerous too.
Yeah. Easy penalty. I thought you did a perfectly great job of just penalizing it immediately. You know, they moaned a little bit, but they accepted it. You know, I thought it was a great penalty. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a different bit of angle, so just trying to bring something else new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I thought it was pretty straight, pretty good call, straight up. Yeah.
sweet.
So
Those
I
are
was
my.
just,
Oops.
yep. Sorry. So I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I put in one line out here. I think, um, is another person unmuted. Kirk. Yeah. So just the one thing I wanted to say there, Will, that I noticed in the game is that quite often the team in black,
Turn back on.
um, quite often you just went and stood at the back, right, and assumed that the gap would be okay. But like
Mhm.
I noticed that the team in black were putting a lot of pressure on the red team, like throughout the game. They were sort of closing gap, and it put so much pressure on the thrower all the time, you know. And I didn't really notice that the red team were doing it the other way around. So it's just something like it's very difficult. And I actually spoke to Khalil about this too, and probably maybe Khalil will speak about this later too, is that, and it didn't happen here, but if the teams delay in forming the lineout, like once they get to the lineout, if they get to the lineout like a second or two before the ball's thrown, it's difficult for the referee to manage the gap. So I think always make the mark in front and make sure that you set up those first two players before you go to the back so that they're in place. And when you then go to the back, walk and keep looking at them. So when they move in, you're going to blow a whistle and say, step out, right? So that you're always going to have the gap, and it makes for much cleaner lineouts too. So just something to think about for future. Easy to go at the beginning of the front of every lineout and make your mark and set up the first two players. The only thing we don't want to do is slow down when someone wants to take a quick lineout. But that's something that you'll just pick up as the game goes on.
Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Anything else, Will, taking out of this game besides the lineouts to the next game?
No, I mean, I think it was a good game. A lot of positives. Always some stuff you wish you could clean up on the back end, but I think those are the main things we're talking about. I don't know if Coach O'Brien or Coach Thumley has anything, but if not, we're good to go on.
This is a referee-led discussion. I'll never throw you under the bus.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will. Has Austin arrived yet? Thanks, Mike.
Literally just now.
Okay, are you ready? Or do you want one more round before you go?
No, whatever. I'm good.
Okay, go. That's great. And Sherry's here.
Perfect. Yeah, this was a interesting game. Very hard fought, challenging game for sure. Came right down to the wire. As you can see, the scoreline 30-27. Difficult one to manage. A lot of back chat from players and a lot of foul plays. You can see 9 foul play penalties. Added a lot of mental stress to the game. So definitely a challenging one. Few moments I definitely more than a few moments I wish I could take back and do different, but it's definitely a good experience to be a part of.
Yeah, it was a tense game throughout. Tense game for sure. Oh, yeah. Sherry?
Yeah, no, it was, it was an exciting game to watch. When it's coming down to the last 10 minutes, everybody was, really into the game. I think there probably were a couple of things maybe that, like Austin said, that maybe there were a couple of management things towards the beginning that could have changed that might have helped with, later on in the game, maybe an earlier card might have mitigated some things that happened, a little bit later on. But yeah, I mean, they were two teams that wanted to play and they played their hearts out for an 80-minute game.
Yeah. Look at this,
What,
38% penalty advantage gained.
Want some water?
No, I think we're fine, thanks. Okay. Can everyone please mute themselves, if you don't mind? Let's go to the clips.
So I saw you put one in, Richard. That is a good one too. I'm not sure if you covered that already, if you're going to cover it later too. But we can start with the try is scored, give the card anyway. So just contextually, we've had a number of infringements by Blue. I think this is they've had 8 penalties up to this point. And this Maul gets going with some pretty good momentum here in a second. Clear collapse, clear infringing player, but they've got momentum, so I'm giving it a shot and see if they can score themselves, which they eventually do after a couple of phases. So in my head live, I was thinking, okay, this is a clear yellow card for me against blue number 6 for collapsing. But then as the try is scored, I sort of debate that in my head and end up saying, no, that's enough of a reward. But I guess elicit some feedback from the group on your management style and how you would approach something like this.
Anyone?
My
No?
comment was, it was just a
Mm-hmm.
question, was um, would your decision have changed if they hadn't scored the try?
Mm-hmm.
100%. But it definitely given the yellow card if they
Yeah.
hadn't.
Yeah. That's a good question. I think, Austin, I mean, it's your call on the field, depending on what you think of the temperament of the game, if you feel like you still have to go back and give the yellow card or not. So I think either way, we've all refereed games where this has happened, and we've all probably on more occasions we haven't given the yellow card, right? I'd
Yeah.
say. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd
So
have to
that
say.
was more what I was looking at. As the game carried on, we get a few more infringements down here, and then I get a
Mm-hmm.
clear one that I give the yellow card for, which I think is warranted as well. But another 20 minutes go by, right, before that card
Mm-hmm.
comes out. So
Yeah.
would better to just
Austin,
up now.
had your earlier penalties against Blue been sort of defensive penalties inside the 22? I mean, was this a case of a team that was clean outside the 22 and then changes when they get under pressure?
I wouldn't say clean, but they were definitely more um, likely to infringe in the defensive zone.
Yeah.
I mean, you understand why I posed the question that way, so.
Sure. Yeah. 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 I think, there can't be a black and white answer to this. So it
Yeah, of
really
course.
depends on the referee on the day on the field. If the referee's just going like, okay, you know, do you feel that the game needs the card right now? Then you give it. And if you feel like you can probably manage this still, then that's fine too. But I don't think we have a black and white answer, Austin.
Yeah, no, fair
Mm,
enough.
I'd have to say most of us would have done what you did on most occasions. Yeah. And I think even internationally, you've seen people do both, right?
No, for sure.
But probably more often they'll do this and not the other one. If you're the team scoring, you'd want the card. If you're the team defending, you wouldn't want the card.
Always.
Yeah. Which one next?
Yeah, the line out mall mess. So a little bit of context here. The second side game was before this, and I watched Arizona do this same thing in their second side game where they're holding the player up in the air.
Yeah.
So I spoke with their captain about it beforehand, not coming in with preconceived notions, but just watching the game immediately prior with that same team and went, hey, this looks like something they're doing. I'm not sure if it's a skill issue from the team or if it's a strategy, but just FYI, you need to bring them down. You can't be holding them up there.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of pre-warning. And so the question I have here is, I think that in and of itself, if it's the first time it's happened in the game, which it was in this instance, not sure I'm going to just go straight away and free kick them for that. But immediately after that, we get another mess with a player from Blue, again, similar to the last clip we just watched on the ground that
Mm-hmm.
trips up the whole mall. So my question is, with a situation like this, how would folks want to manage that? Do we just say, hey, they got infringements from both sides, and we're just going to go back and restart this line out? Or because play has sort of moved on, the mall has started, and then there's a collapse that happened, we really can't do that. So you just pick one or just play
Okay.
away. And I elected to do the last.
I would free kick White for leaving the line out before the ball
Yeah,
starts.
I'm with Richard on this too.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
They've left the line out early so that they can
Here we
hit
go.
the mall as
Yeah.
the guy lands, and they hold him
Yeah.
up until he did. I would pick your free kick offense, but letting
Yeah.
White score from this moving mall would not make me happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with Tig for sure. Yeah, so definitely the free kick. And I mean, we actually a couple of weeks ago we talked about teams holding a player in the air, and that it's dangerous. And what they do, they're also waiting for these players to get around and then join the maul. So
Yeah, fair
if they
enough.
hold them in the
And
air, we're going to free kick them. If they leave the line out early to form a maul like this, we're going to free kick them, and then they all free kicked out.
yeah, I don't remember who I was. The first 3 weeks of the English Premiership had this problem, and I don't
Yeah,
know what the directive was, but they killed by I think week 3 or 4 they killed it.
yeah,
It was becoming a rash.
absolutely, yeah. So they can't leave the line out. They can't hold the player up. We just free kick all of it. Okay.
It's obvious that the skill that was coached, right? So that was implemented. Cal laid that one on Arizona a couple weeks back, and Frank
Yeah.
was right. So what?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty ironic how they let me have it pretty hard for this same move, and then 2 weeks later are doing it.
That's just being a ref.
Yes.
Those are the two I had. I have things to say on the clip you pulled, but
Oh, you do? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but not sure if it's part of the different context you wanted to talk about. So,
No, I was just talking about like how many mauls do we see that get formed in general play these days? Like
yeah,
I think the last one I saw was in 2019, I think. So here you go.
I think there were two in
Welcome.
this game.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome to 2025. So, and I think it sort of catches us off guard, right? Because
Yeah,
we're like, oh, goodness me. And then, you know, you actually got into in goal instead of, well, if it was a line out, you'd be behind it, yeah, right?
right, right.
So I just wanted to show everybody because, like, if this happens now, it'll happen a couple of times more. And I think the key thing here is just to like, you go like, oh, goodness, it's a wall close to the goal line. So maybe you should be sort of at the back here somewhere on either side, trying to figure out where the ball is, right? At least have your eyes on the ball. Because the ball was dropped. We don't know if it went forward or not, but I mean, like, I don't think you were in a position to see it either. But if you were, you might have just gone like, okay, it's enough, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Just because you would have seen it. But it's just the reason I wanted to show it is because it's a strange thing. And you know, when some teams start doing it now, everybody's going to do it.
Mhm.
So just if it's a mall being formed in general play, then sort of try and stay behind it because you can follow the ball in the same as you would with the line out, right? You wouldn't be an in goal side. So
Yeah.
that's why I put the clip in there.
No, I like
But
it.
congratulations on getting all these strange things happen in your game.
Yeah, yeah, there are quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just talked about lineouts now the whole day.
Yeah,
Even
that
the
was
deliberate knock was from a lineout.
yep.
That's
Cool. That was
great. Thanks, Austin. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
Khalil and Lee.
Oh, hello everyone.
Hello.
So I went back to Anne Arundel County, another matchup between two teams who plan on playing in late April or early May. The big numbers on the screen here don't quite tell the story of this game, I don't think, because at halftime the score was 3-0 to Cal. The score was 3-3 until the 56th minute. And then two of the three tries that Navy scored, in my opinion, were due to fluky defense out of Cal. And then with the penalties, of the 16 Navy penalties, I think 5 of them were ball carrier not releasing. Then another 2 were fluky bits of foul play that we'll look at. So it was a very defensive, hard-nosed battle. Both teams had their opportunities to put more points on the board, which I, of course, would have preferred, but execution errors got in the way. But it was I'm sure watching it back, it was a good game. At the moment, chaos and pressure, but you know that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And Lee, is Lee with us?
Yep.
Hello.
Hello, sir. So yeah, it's an interesting game to watch for sure. It's usually when I look at games, the first thing I look at is PKs, and it was kind of funny to look at the stats right away and be like, huh, ball carrier not releasing. There's a lot of those. Means there's a very contested game. So yeah, it was fun to watch and is interesting.
Great. go look at some clips.
You'd start at the bottom, the first scrum. So this is the first scrum of the game, and this and the last scrum clips are there because one of the things that I've been trying to do lately, now just between me and you, I feel like I've been in a little funk for the last year and a half or so, not performing to my own expectations of myself or perhaps even others' expectations of myself. So trying to get back to what I'm good at. And that led to this, which is an old thing that I was bad at, which was recognizing something and then just kind of moving on. Not hoping it would get better, but figuring I'll address it later. So in this clip, you'll maybe be able to see the Cal loose head and the Navy tight head hand fighting. The Cal loose head would race to get his bind, which would make it difficult for the tight head to get his bind. Here we reset. The next scrum ends up being a penalty against Cal. I later tell I tell the loose head to let the one guy get his bind before you get yours because he's being a problem. But that was well into the game, like second half kind of thing. So I saw the issue. I eventually addressed the issue, but this was many penalties later, and some subs were made. And then we get to the last scrum, which is just ball in, ball out, and what the game could have been for the whole 80 minutes, potentially.
So yeah, so we always want the loose head to go underneath, right? So that loose head can't block them and the tight head can't grab on the shoulder. So they just have to get it right, figure it out, you know. You probably could have got away with a free kick there very early on, eh?
Should have.
Against Cal, field
Against Cal.
positioning, context, and everything, right?
Right. All the
Yeah,
reasons.
yeah. You're still at 75% ball out, though.
It should have been a 95%.
Okay.
All right. And then let's go first head contact process. When it happened live, you can see in the video that I paused because I was replaying what was that? And then I give the penalty. I said there was head contact, there was foul play, it was high danger, but the tackler was passive. He just stood there and accepted the hit, and I mitigated it down to a yellow. You might have to zoom in, and it's a bit grainy,
Yeah.
but that's what I was going for here.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty clear. It's good pickup as well. You know,
Who needs a team
can
though?
everyone see it? It's going to be right here, right? This play here. Whoops. Yeah. Okay. Everyone happy with that? Okay, next one.
Yeah. Then second or last head contact process, gotta stick with my naming convention. This is later in the game. Same basic thing. Though with this one, it's on replay, it seems less passive what Navy does. But
Yeah.
in the moment, I explained it as the same exact thing. Head contact, upright, so there's foul play, high danger,
Yeah.
passive tackler.
The head contact, yeah, low force, right? So no, but I'm saying that's what you said on the field, right?
Oh yes, yes, on the field.
Yeah.
And then so those were the two bits of one-off foul play. There were there's a tackle that slipped high. There's a guy that maybe should have wrapped, but he knew it immediately and was contrite. There's another thing I can't remember right now, but those are the two
Yeah,
bits of weird foul play. So I don't really count that against myself in the numbers for the penalties. But I'm really
yeah,
actually glad that I caught them live. This one I was ready for, I
sure.
think, because I was primed from the first half or
Yeah.
whenever the earlier one was. Yeah, feel good about it.
No, I mean it's definitely good to pick those up because they're difficult. They're difficult to see in real time, you know. Because I mean, besides that, we're also looking at the above the sternum and everything. So we've got a lot of things that we sort of trying to look at all the time, you know. And
Sure.
there's
Yeah.
also, I mean, obviously it's a physical game. There's a lot of contact that goes on. Then you also have to go like, is it an open play or not, and all those kind of things, you know. So many questions.
And
Yeah,
then I'll line out. I only had one good example of this. So what Outcast says you're only as funky as your last cut. But what I normally do is go to the front, make the mark for the defense, the throwing whoever shows up. Then I run away, having acknowledged front guy, this is you. Do you understand? Yes, great. I go to the back, they do whatever they're doing, the ball comes in, and we play on. But here, I made the mark, did not acknowledge the Cal front person, ran to the back, and immediately forgot about what was going on at the front of the line now. So Cal, of course, steps in. I don't correct them. This throw is not straight, and Cal
yeah,
is rewarded for their bad behavior.
yeah. So it's and
Look
like
at
I
that.
said earlier, it's difficult because Navy are just standing around doing nothing, right? So we would also like to just ask these players to join the line out because what's the reason for them standing out here? They're just wasting everyone's time. So they got to move, keep moving to the line out and form the line out. And the first time you can just blow your whistle and say to them, get in the line out, right? But them arriving late is also the reason why it's difficult for you to tell whether there's a gap anymore or not, you know? So
Mhm.
in fact, Navy are taking away their own advantage. So they need to get in the line out and form it so that you can manage the gap. And if they don't do it, if they keep doing it like this, it's difficult to manage the gap, you know? So,
And this was, sorry to cut you off. This that I'm showing here is in
mhm,
the, was that the 16th minute, but it happened throughout the first half, and I
yeah,
didn't quite pick it up. Excuse me, I did not pick it up. Then in this at halftime, I was speaking with my ARs, thinking out loud, and I was like, those guys are closing the line out. I
uh-huh,
should probably not let them do that.
right.
And the second half lineouts were straighter in their throws and a touch opener in their gaps.
So thanks for keeping with the theme of lineouts today.
I do my part for the team.
Anything you want to say in closing? And or Lee?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that yeah, I mean if you think about it, the ball is really only in play like half the game, right? The rest of it is
Mhm.
set pieces, and at this level, the teams really can attack from lineouts and really attack from scrums, and so it's really important to make sure that there's a fair setup in the scrum, but also in like the lineouts, like the contest is really important because it's an attacking piece. So, take the time to get the lineouts right and the scrums right because it's otherwise you're kind of taking away a piece of a team's um, offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I read this had nothing to do with my performance. I read after the game that it has been at least 25 years since Cal was held without a try in the game by a domestic team. So props to Navy.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of good defense in the first half for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Thanks, Lee. And the last game of the day. Alex and Olivia. Hello.
Yep. So I had Life and St. Thomas came up from Florida. Obviously, one-way traffic in this match, so it was plenty of running.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about this game, I think, was more set piece management on my part. That's where kind of my goals shifted towards. I'm relatively familiar with Life and the way they scrum, the way they want to scrum, and kind of managing that throughout the game. Staying on par with the line out theme, I've got two clips that are line out related that aren't line out related, but something that's interesting to point out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Olivia?
Yeah, I think it's captured in the summary, but when Alex and I debriefed, we also talked about opportunity for adjudication placement. So PK, free kick early in the game where they can shape player behavior if used, early, and then perhaps that would influence future behavior. And the line out one's fun. So I do think with what happened here, this is I thought about from a coach perspective, verify and trust, or trust and verify. Because well, I'll let Alex get to the clip, but we discussed if he called what he should call in law, he would have been vilified by the offending team. But it was definitively incorrect. So have fun watching this.
Yeah, I think the one to start with is just no explanation. Just play it and see if somebody catches it. And if you catch it, say something. So do the
one where you put the law in for us.
the other one. One down, two down from that. Nope, next one down. That one. So it's a penalty for whatever. A Life is kicking to touch. And you'll see how the line out's set up.
Do you have your audio on?
No audio.
Okay.
No, sir.
They got the hooker up ahead.
Where did the hooker come from? Did he ever really have another ball?
He did. 100% had another ball standing in touch, ready to go. And
he's in front of the kicker.
Yes, he is. So that was the discussion of if I call this of being in front of the penalty kick or where the mark is, that'd be a scrum to red or blue. And yeah, that would not go over well. However, it happened all game.
Oh, really? Eh?
Yeah, I noticed it in the second half, and I'm sitting here and thinking, like, man, if they better get into the touch, or that guy is not onside from the kick. But
yeah,
I think, Alex, if they don't try and take a quick throw, or he doesn't try and join play, should they fail to find touch, you turn a blind eye. If he joins play, if they fail to find touch, you've got to nail him.
Yeah, and they were clearly doing this because they wanted to have a faster line out. And I mean, we talk about, what Richard said before, like, I don't want them standing out waiting for it. They want to get on with it and they want to get moving. So I can't fault him for that. However, it is illegal. The next clip is the exact same thing, but it's clear as day because it's on the opposite side of the field.
So let's watch the next clip rather before we talk about this more. But that's pretty funny, I have to admit. I mean, like, I can't believe that a team would actually do that, but we'll talk about how we'll deal with it. So which one's next?
Upfield from penalty kick number 2, and then the law for y'all to look at
it. What next? Eh? This has got to be like the worst thing yet.
Oh, there he is.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So when you blow the
Flash,
you just go running.
It's the Flash.
He must do, yeah. That's so wild. So, can I make a suggestion? And then everybody can fight about whether it's a good idea or not. But I think the first time it happens, because we're all going to look for it. So whoever's refereeing live right now, when you see that player go off there, you're going to blow your whistle and tell them to come back. And if they try and do it again, then you're just going to let them take the kick and you're going to offer the opposition whether they want the penalty where the player was offside or scrum where they kicked from. Is that fair? Manage it once and then just give them the offside kick option. I mean.
So, Richard, I will say I had to pull out the law book a few times on this one, and it's only a scrum up.
Only a scrum option?
Yeah, it's a scrum at the kick.
Okay, so let's just say that.
Olivia is correct.
And this is so unusual that this is so unusual that I think you're just not expecting this.
Yeah. So don't you then think we should just, if it's just a scrum option, we just give the scrum?
You could do that, or you could play with them. You could be confrontational, not let them set the line out until everybody's joined. That would be my approach until they conformed, or hold them back behind. But if you're going to play with me, I'll play with you too.
I'll just give the scrum. I think we should just give the scrum, just for fun, because it's that they're just deliberately cheating.
Yeah.
Right? So let's not warn them. Let's just give the scrum. If that's fair, we just give the scrum. And if they go like, "Why do you give me the scrum for?" and you go like, "Your player's in front of the kick," and then we'll see if they do it a second time. But you can give scrums all day. I'm sure after the first time they'll stop doing it. Is everyone happy with that? That's the law, 20.10. So what happens if the kick doesn't go out and that player scores a try? Then it's just normal in front of kicker?
For me, it'd be in front of kicker. Yeah.
Yeah. You'd be pretty shocked if he caught that ball and scored a try, right? You'd be like, holy moly. So it's a scrum, man. Law 10. 20.10.
2010.
Well, you're winning the line-out competition, that's for sure.
Bizarre. Amazing. So the last clip is scrums, and this is where I think my biggest work on from this match, and honestly this season and last fall, is me being a little bit more deliberate in my calls. I feel relatively good about setup for most of them, but this one here was a pretty big discussion with the coach afterwards. He even emailed me about it tonight, trying to keep that dialogue open. So I penalized this for an early step forward from life on the set. And his argument back, I mean, he sent me a video and cropped it and showed that he's stating that St. Thomas is stepping back on set versus
that's what they always say.
Hit. I know. And my argument to the coach was simply, we make the mark. Your players are expected to stay on the mark. When I call set, your players still need to stay over the mark. It's holding their weight. It's what it is. Please keep that. And his side is, well, the scrum's got to settle. I said, yeah, the scrum will settle, laterally to some degree, but not north-south.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he agreed to disagree, but
that's what they always say. When anyone gets free kicked for pushing early, it's because the other team stepped back.
Yeah, and mind you, this was much later in the game. It's the 71st minute. This is the fourth early in there. So
it was the fourth what?
This was the fourth early push in the match. Now they spaced them out over the game, but
Olivia, what were your thoughts on these scrums?
So I thought we should have hit the first one with the free kick. And I get the sense that the coach wanted to have a very specific, what does the law say? And so again, the law says you must have both feet on the ground and your weight has to be at least on 1 foot.
Yeah.
So then if we want to discuss with the coach the why, is when you step forward, both feet aren't on the ground by definition.
Yeah.
And therefore it's an early push. How sometimes people take information different ways. And it seemed like the life coach wanted to be pointed to where does it say this in writing?
In the law book.
Well, yeah, and so then this is where it says it in writing. Both feet must be on the ground until the I forget the word choice, but this Mike Kelly probably knows, until the scrum starts, and the scrum starts when the ball leaves the scrum half's hands. The ball is in the scrum half's hands. The scrum has not started. That's the wrong word choice, but Mike correct me. But both feet must be on the ground. As soon as there's a step, 1 foot is off the ground.
Right. Yeah.
And my question of this is what are referees using as triggers to know if it's the opposition front row stepping back and not accepting that weight versus, an actually early push?
That's so difficult. Such a difficult question. I mean,
I think Occam's razor is that it's hardly ever the step back, right? Like that's probably just the easiest thing to look at. But I guess if you were to say that there was going to be a clear step back, you'd almost see the one team fall flat on their face as opposed to driving the other team back, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look at their heels before the set. Are they prepared to push or not? That tends to help. And then are they walking backwards versus being pushed backwards?
Right.
And the other thing that Alex and I talked about, and this is a Peter Watson, is look at the locks. So if you step back, you can also it's a play call too, typically by the scrum if they're going to step back.
Yeah.
So it's more than just the front row typically.
I mean, these things are very difficult to sort of if we take all of those suggestions, different things work for different referees that you're looking at, but can you imagine now trying to look at St. Thomas's feet and you're looking at the prop from life and maybe the locks, and it's a lot of things to do. So I think like the main thing could be just to try and simplify it, right? So first of all, sort of see where you are on the field. Whose ball is it? And how have scrums been going? Or even if it's the first scrum, you're like, well, where are we on the field and what are these teams trying to achieve? Does do Green want to create a solid platform for the ball here? Do St. Thomas want to disrupt? That kind of thing. So once you start thinking about all of these things, then maybe you can go like, okay, well, maybe I can play through this, or maybe not, and maybe I'll manage it at the next scrum, right? So if you have this happen in the first scrum and you decide to play through it, then maybe at the next scrum you'll go, okay, I'm going to stand in front of the scrum half, and you're going to say to the props, like, you're going to keep it on the mark, and I'm not going to move away until you stay on the mark and you're steady, right? So now you're at the next scrum, and you've basically given them a sort of ultimatum of sorts. So the ball's not going to come in, right? So the players are going to try and comply because you're standing there right over them. And then when you step back, they can go and put the ball in. So I think if you try a couple of tools where you take charge of it instead of sort of like trying to look at 100 things, because I think it's, even watching a whole lot of scrums, people are going to come up with different outcomes of what they think happened, So I think what we want to focus on as referees in this competition is we want to make sure the setup is correct and everyone's shoulders on line. People are binding properly. There's no like pushing on the shoulders or fighting for binding. Like it's all straight and it's steady. And then when they engage, that they steady and they stay on that mark and get the ball in. And I think it's just a matter of us managing that process a lot better. Then we wouldn't have to try and figure out all the shenanigans that goes on with it, if that makes sense, Alex.
Yeah, and I will say life is going to push the limit. They're going to push that line as much as they can. And
sure,
when I did point stuff out, they did correct, and you could even hear them as they were forming the scrum, like, "Hey, let's give him a good picture. Give him a good picture." And they would be good for 2 scrums, So you making sure that they know that you're seeing it, that they're towing that line.
Yeah. But then in those situations too, when you get to the next scrum, you can go, that's great, let's keep it like that. And when you get to the next scrum, you go, that's great, let's keep it like that. Even if you have to be that annoying, just keep annoying them. You can keep annoying them to tell them how wonderful it is. because then they might feel like, maybe I won't try something at the next one, you know. So, and you can also just go to the player that was really good, little bit more straight, that kind of thing. It's just like
Right.
little things go a long way, but at least all we want them to do is we want them to know that you're in charge, you know. So, and sometimes like we go out there and referee a game, and the scrums are amazing, until like the 70th minute, and then suddenly you go like, what? What just happened? Because you haven't even bothered with it because it's been so great. But things change. I mean, you looked at Khalil's game, like, showed that last scrum. I mean, like if a first scrum is like that, it'd be great the whole game, That's what we want. But you can just manage it, be annoying, but in a nice way. Yeah. I actually thought this game would be a little tighter. But St. Thomas are a good team though. Eh?
Yeah, St. Thomas honestly just didn't have possession of the ball the majority of the game.
Okay.
Life starved them of possession for the
Hmm.
majority of the game, and then they capitalized on any turnover.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. That's great. Thanks, Alex.
Mhm.
Thanks,
Richard, are we
Olivia.
going to hit those clips or not?
Which ones? Oh, your ones.
The ones, yeah.
Holding on, holding on.
So, yep. So, Amanda and I talked about these. Before we play them,
Uh,
all four of these clips have a ball carrier penalized for holding on.
mhm.
And whether or not that's the right call depends on something else that's going on. And the question is, if they're not clear cut, but whether or not the other problem should have been dealt with.
Okay,
Just
what
show all
what
four
was
of
the
them,
other
Rich.
problem you're talking about, Joe?
Number one, crossing, but well, I wasn't going to say, I was going to let you show all four of them and then just see. But watch just things that are slowing down the support team. Suddenly he takes his path right between the support players and they
Hmm.
have to slow down. And we're going to
It'd
see
be a
four of
difficult
these.
one to call on the field, though, this one.
I know. But it's just, I just want people to sort of be aware.
Uh-huh.
He crosses through. We're going to see three more, and you'll see they're all just kind of subtle. They're at the edge. The actual call may be fine, but people have to be aware of bodies just in the way.
Yeah. Hmm.
That, before you penal, we've made everybody clear to watch that the tacklers roll
Yeah.
away. But if there are other players sort of slowing down the scrum half in the support,
Yeah, Tig, not to overstate the obvious, but this isn't to be the jackler is the reason why this is important. If the jackler's not there, these clips mean nothing, right?
Yeah.
absolutely true. No,
Yeah.
no.
Uh-huh.
If these clips had not resulted in the ball carriers being penalized for holding on, I wouldn't have clipped them.
Yep.
They were all just asking the refs to just think about, is the holding on call a fair call given the bodies that were in the way of the support? It's only because of the body. This one didn't.
Yeah, Mike.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had not turned my mute button back on. You're just getting my reaction live.
Was that a gasp?
No, just a
Yeah,
grunt of approval.
yeah. Number four just prevents those guys from coming around rather than going the other way out of the way. So it's just for people to be aware of them. I don't want to
Yeah.
debate the individual calls, but
So
without jacklers and penalties against the ball carriers, you're right.
yeah.
None of these are an issue.
So if you go and look at a couple of weeks ago, BYU against St. Mary's, BYU had a breakaway into the like 5 meters from the goal line, and the last defender tackled the player and got up and ran straight across, which is exactly what you're trying to say here. But you can go and look at that clip, and the defender ran straight across oncoming players, and Matt was refereeing it. Matt picked it up, you know, and it's a good clip to go and look at if you want to see exactly what at what level this should be penalized at. But this is it definitely happens. It just depends if you can pick up where it happens. And the interesting thing about all of these clips, Fig, is the fact that you know when you actually when you actually look at them, the only job of the referee was always to be very flat, right? So you'd have to think if you were a little bit further back, a little bit deeper, and sort of slow down like over here, you'd be able to see that, because if you keep moving, you sort of keep going to a very flat position and you become very ball focused.
Now,
So
on all of these, in fact, if the team in possession had maintained possession and there'd been no penalty, I probably wouldn't have even picked anything up as
sure,
an issue. As Mike said,
hmm
I just would have said, yeah, we're nothing was
yeah,
a problem. But then when I see the ball carrier penalized, I'm going, ew.
Well, I think part of
yeah,
the issue is that you actually not the issue. The easy piece is to just go, what's our process as we look at the tackler and tackler assist getting out of the way.
yep,
We're too quickly looking to the jackler in this case, and this is
yeah,
and Tig, I think you're going to agree with this point. It's not to overemphasize the fact that these are being missed, or that we have to look at these things at the back of the tackle area, or if it's fast enough for the ruck.
yeah,
Don't turn that in today. Just add this to your checklist and be more cognizant of
hmm
the tackler assist or the tackler who has not gone to the right side of the ball, so to speak.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I also think that you know we still see some referees are sort of keep moving when they get to the breakdown, or they keep going to the same spot over and over. And I think like, or they're at the breakdown and they're still trying to like run away from it, those kind of things. Just try and get into a natural flow. And I think a natural flow is if you board in line and the players, you can see a tackle is about to happen, that you just drift a little bit further back behind. So you had a 45-degree angle and you got a clear 45-degree angle, and you're not too close, and you're not just deliberately trying to go to that very close point where you become a little bit ball focused. So if you're a little bit further back, you can see the big picture and you can see um, how the breakdown's going to unfold. And if you're a little bit further back and somebody does infringe the oncoming traffic of the attacking team or the team in possession, you're going to be able to pick it up.
And Katie asked, yeah, technically, if you have to make the call opposite going the other way, it would be obstruction. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
real issue is that if the ball carrier can hold on and present, you just let it go.
Yep. Thanks for those, Tig. So I guess we're a little bit over time, but I could sit here and talk about lineouts for like the next 4 minutes, or I could just send everyone an email that's going to take about 4 minutes to read. So I think we'll go with the latter. But what I really want us to just take out of this is that you know we talked about the set pieces being so important, and setting up the scrums and setting up the lineouts. Just basic things, right? So you make the mark, you make sure there's a gap, make sure everyone's in the line out, because now when they say, you know, if it's not straight, if the other team doesn't contest, you can sort of play through it. But what we really want is we want a good gap in the line out so that players can actually contest for the line out, and also to take less pressure off. There's already pressure on the throwers anyway, but we want a clear gap for them to throw the ball in. So let's get that sorted out. Make sure arm is up when the line out's on. Take your arm down when the line out's over. Go and make the mark on the front. we saw so many line out things, but I'll send all of this out in an email. But if we can just focus on getting those little things right, because lineouts and scrums are very, very important. Get them set up properly and keep refereeing them. But it's good to see that there's definitely improvement across the group as we go from week to week. We're going into March now, so we've got about, I think, 5 more weeks of round robin play, and then we got a lot of playoff games. So there's a lot of opportunity for referees to referee those playoff games. So just keep working on it. We really appreciate your time and the effort that you're putting in, and also staying up this late for the call. So thank you very much, and we'll see everybody. Have a good game this weekend. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Thank you. Bye.